Let's see.
You're such a...
Good evening, welcome. It is 6:09 and I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Windsor Unified School District Board of Trustees to order. We will go ahead and start with a roll call. If you could help us out, Claudia, that would be great.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Here.
Molinelli Lopez.
Here.
Bill Adams.
Here.
Rich Carnation.
Here.
Kylie Hernandez.
Here.
Zoe Furman-Kudich.
Here. Thank you very much. I am leading the flag salute, so let's stand and get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.3 is report out of closed session. I don't believe we have anything to report. So we'll move on to item 3.1, which is adjustments to the agenda. We do have a couple adjustments. We are tabling item 4.8, and we are going to move item 5.5 to 5.1 and then move everything forward. Okay. Do we have public comment on non-agenda items? Please go ahead and approach the podium if you do.
Hi, good evening, board. I almost feel like I should have a theme song when I come up here, like Who Let the Dogs Out? You know, because
Music's optional.
right? So I'm back. I'm back to talk about dogs. I didn't really want to be back to talk about dogs, but here I am. And I'm going to stick to my script because I got 3 minutes and I want to make sure I get this all in. So there might be a little discomfort with what I'm about to say, but with discomfort comes growth, and we need to grow through this. So here goes. I'm here tonight to address a frustrating and disappointing lack of progress on refining the district's animal regulations and policy. Over the past several months, at your suggestion, I have willingly committed hours working with HR, believing we are working toward a meaningful solution. Yet here we are, 9 months later, with no compromise, no resolution, and no sense of urgency. Jeremy, I appreciate your response, acknowledging the delay and your intention to bring this finalized policy to the school board in February. However, the prolonged inaction speaks volumes to CSEA. In 9 months, a time frame in which I could have birthed a human, we have failed to birth a revised policy. This is not just about missed deadlines. It's a reflection of the lack of priority placed on this issue, and frankly, it's unacceptable. Last April, 2 Williams complaint forms were submitted in good faith, yet they remain unresolved, far beyond the required 90-day timeline for addressing anonymous complaints. What message does this send to CSEA members? That their concerns are unimportant? And what about the stakeholders? Families were never surveyed, and transportation, where a dog literally resides, was not included in the conversation. These oversights undermine trust and accountability within our district. HR and I have already worked on this policy, providing edits, addressing loopholes, and offering examples from other schools. The district has everything needed to finalize this policy, yet the process drags on, and the delays must stop. This issue goes beyond the policy. It's about respect for CSEA members, the backbone of our district. We already work in challenging environments. We don't need to turn our workplace into literal zoos. Until the new policy is adopted, I urge the district and the board to back this, to enforce existing regulations, which require animals to be housed in suitable cages or containers, animals on campus to serve instructional purposes, which really should be tied to a curriculum. The regulation doesn't exactly say that, but that is the intent, I believe. A dog under a desk is not an education to anyone except a colleague learning that the yelping, whining, and barking is distracting. Non-service animals, including ESEAs and foster dogs, need to remain off campus. The current regulation is clear, though loopholes may exist, but let's focus on the intent. And any violations such as loose dogs under desks must be addressed immediately. I didn't dedicate my time to this process to be continuously passed off. If the district fails to act, I will escalate further. I have already consulted the County Office of Education and the California Department of Education to determine next steps for the unresolved Williams complaint forms. While I prefer resolution over escalation, I'm prepared to move forward if necessary. Jeremy, I am available the week of February 3rd to collaborate and finalize this policy. It's time for the district to demonstrate that the voices of CSEA members and the broader community matter. Let's just get this work done. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? It looks like we have a couple.
I just have a request. I actually would like to make a public comment on item 4.6, but I'm sick and I need to leave, so I was hoping I could just take 3 minutes of your time.
Is that fine with the board? To comment on consent
Yeah,
now?
yes.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
We want you
So,
to.
thank you. I brought Lori Lucas with me here tonight, my colleague. We felt it was important to come because we do encourage our students to stand up for items that are very important to them. And I'm certain this is an absolute overlook and an accident that this happened. But you guys are about to vote on the approval of an ethnic studies curriculum tonight. And ethnic studies has been a source of contention in California for some years. In 2019, Jews were removed from, Jews were removed from the curriculum. And in 2020, after backlash from the Jewish community, Arabs were removed from the curriculum. And so now we're down to 4 groups: African American studies, Asian American and Pacific Islander studies, Chicano and Latino studies, and Native American studies. And so when we created this curriculum, and I don't know all the details about creating the curriculum, but I saw that in the outline that you're possibly going to approve tonight, that the outline is now Native Studies, African American History, Chicano and Latino Studies, Asian American Studies, and then Islamic and Middle Eastern American perspectives. So the primary focus of ethnic studies should be race and ethnicity, according to the state of California. This moves more to in sort of an intersectional idea of religion and region. And I just wanted to kind of talk about it because school boards across the state of California are being called anti-Semitic and anti-Arab. The California Attorney General has warned governing boards to take steps to make sure that locally created curriculum is consistent with Ed Code, and warned, he said, to take care that in presenting diverse perspectives, they do not end up discriminating against other groups or communities. So by eliminating Jewish Americans from the curriculum, you've essentially erased Jews from California. They make up 1.2 million people in this state. Arabs make up 715,000 in the state. I'd love to see both groups included because I think it's important that in ethnic studies, we're learning about our identity and our community, and that we include all of those groups. And certainly we don't just leave one out. So my recommendation is that you maybe take a closer look at it before approving it. Okay.
Just the only thing I'll add is that, so I've been here for a long time. Years ago, in teaching global studies, we would cover the the Palestinian-Israeli crisis or conflict. And we did have some pushback from community that they felt we were presenting it in a biased manner. And we were presenting two sides, but they felt that it was biased. So we had to amend that. The community does speak, we have to serve our community. So I just wanted to just throw that out there that as it is now with the exclusion, I'm concerned that it's a little bit of a powder keg, waiting to blow up on us. And I feel like we need to be sensitive to covering all the issues from all the perspectives. So
Thank you
Thank you.
for the
Hold on
adjustment.
just a second.
Sure.
Yeah, could you, just so Claudia knows in our minutes show, could you both say your name for Claudia and we can get that in the minutes? And this is item 4.6.
Yes.
I will have some questions and perhaps we want to pull this one so we have a little deeper dive and discussion off our consent calendar. So if the two speakers could say who they are.
Diane Hardy.
And I'm Lori Lucas.
Thank you, ladies.
Board, if I could add, this is my fault. I uploaded the wrong version of the document. The version that I have reflects the notes from Ms. Green that you sent me, where it
Shame on
only
you,
has
Brian.
it only has the 4 groups that are recognized as part of ethnic studies. So I have that available if you want to review it.
Trust you. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So,
I know you mentioned that you were sick or not feeling well.
Yeah.
Do you feel well enough to, so we could discuss, you can be here when we discuss this?
well, I think that our union president, Susanna Pfeffer, is able to discuss it. I
Okay.
can certainly make myself available.
No, that's okay.
Danielle probably can discuss it fairly well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel confident in that. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ladies.
Okay, I think we have one more public comment, at least.
All right. Good evening, trustees. My name is Kevin Scanlon, currently a 27-year resident of the town of Windsor, Windsor Creek Residential and Elementary School neighborhood. I've been in the government realm for over 40 years and an educator for 26 years. I was formerly a volunteer for 16 years at the Windsor High School. Again, just because you can, the question then becomes, should you? Well, as all of us are hearing and seeing, Sonoma State University and the Santa Rosa School District, monetarily and in physical structure, are crumbling from several factors with the common theme of prior ridiculous decisions of school boards and typical overcompensated management. During your last meeting of this body, one of you said profoundly, we should always keep priority one, taking care of the kids first, and then move on to the special projects and other orders of business. Amazingly, all of you pushed through the $10 million dump in one decision that has its plus and minuses for Maddie Washburn. However, the superintendent's exuberant display almost got you to omit the loan or loans for the second half of the monies was well taken care of by your newfound sugar daddy, proud owner of Poppy Bank, who you have sold the district soul to with the known ill-advised ENA to wipe out the Windsor Creek Elementary property for profit. Gallagher is currently, he's got some other projects that will change the overall pulse of the town. One of the projects that he's got north of Windsor Creek Elementary is already putting the town planning department to task with his typical building tactics. With a 4-story plan, but the problem is the Sonoma County Fire District only operates a ladder truck or ladder trucks in town that can only reach the 3rd floor for rescue and firefighting. Because SSU and SRSD couldn't hold their mustard, you'll now have access to all of the prior experienced school employees and, of course, students you need to run WUSD under its current day-to-day operations. Your arguments for gaining some extra millions and minimal royalties from your sugar daddy over the years is mute, as most of the employees already own or rent here in town or the county. It was discovered recently that the Town of Windsor Parks and Recreation Commission has in place a 2030 master plan since 2015 that seeks a location that would be deemed a multi-use recreation center and gym space, which would connect the town and make a great place for everybody in town, including our student body. All the amenities on the property of Windsor Creek Elementary fits perfectly with the Parks and Recs master plan of 2030. But all of you and WSD don't want to play in the same sandbox, a lesson we all learned in kindergarten, and in direct violation of your self-admitted priority one, which is to take care of the kids first and to move on to the special project or other orders of business. Nice work, everyone.
Right, thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to our report from our student board members, Kylie Hernandez and Zoe Fermankiewicz. Let us know what you've been up to.
All right, I'd like to start off. Hope everybody had an amazing New Year's and a wonderful break. So we're going to start off with Brooks Elementary. So some recent events was the Peace Bowl dedication, the school spelling bee where 3rd grade Cameron was winner and 4th grade Clara was runner up, and they will represent Brooks in regional competition. The yearbook cover contest and some upcoming events is the Lost and Found Items donation, 5th grade award assembly, walk enrolled to school, and 3rd grade award assembly. Next, we have Maddie Washburn Elementary. So some recent events were the Kinder Friendship Day, the Social Thinking Assemblies, JAGGY Student Leadership Meeting, Site Council Meeting, and Donuts with Grownups. And there's some pictures to the right of Donuts with Grownups. And then upcoming events is 100th day of school and Dressed Like a 100-year-old day, TK field trip to fire station, and JAGGY Pride Assemblies. And then we have Cali Calmeccac. So some recent events was the Walk and Roll, which is every Wednesday. 5th grade Info Night, used information uniform sale, Dine and Donate Roundtable, Governing Council, Teaspoon Dine and Donate, and First Core Day. And then some upcoming events is the TK to 4th grade Literacy Night, Free Dress Day, PTA Association meeting, Zumba, and Coffee with Admin.
So for Windsor Middle School, we had an NVL boys basketball game on the 8th, 13th, and 15th, an open house showcase on the 22nd, and a rally celebrating the teachers. And for some upcoming events, we have Coffee with the Principal on January 28th, a Nature Bridge Golden Gate Seas Candy fundraiser in February. For Big Picture Learning, for some recent events, they had a field trip to the Pacific Coast Air Museum. And then the Youth Choose Survey, this is general to all parents in the district, is still open. The last day to respond is January 31st. And then for upcoming events, the students are just going to continue their LTIs. So for Windsor High School, some recent events, we have our winter sports going on. So please make sure to come out and support our wrestling teams, basketball, soccer, and comp cheer teams. There was a swim interest meeting yesterday in the library and an SRJC application workshop. For some upcoming events, we have officer interest meetings for anyone at the high school who's interested in getting a director, class officer, ASB position. This is for anyone, even if they're not in leadership, except for ASB president and vice president. We have a wine fundraiser, a fun food bingo. We're going to be selling Valentine's singing grams, so you can send a special message to a friend or for a crush or if someone you're in a relationship with. And then we have our spring fling in March.
Thanks for the report. Any questions from the board? Okay, we'll move on. 3.4 is Assistant Superintendent Report. Do you have anything to report, Brian?
I'll be doing it when the principals do their scorecard presentations.
Okay, great. Then we'll move on to Superintendent's Report.
All right. So I want to talk about some data that we're getting from the state that's new. The state actually just released something, it's embargoed, but I get to share it. I just can't send it to you, but I can share it, about student level growth data. And this essentially measures the growth that a student was supposed to make versus what they did make, according to other students in the state. So a lot of times we're talking about achievement, right? We're talking about the percentage of students who met the standard. This is different. This is the growth of a student. So they might be very low, but if they made atypical growth or higher growth than expected, then they're going to be caught in this data, which is exactly what we want. It's only for grades 4 through 8, and I'm not going to go through exactly how everything's calculated because I don't think that's really what's necessary here, but I wanted to celebrate some of the work that we've been doing. You'll hear more later on about a lot of this work, but this is what really shows if what we are doing right now is making a difference, because we are seeing higher than projected growth. If you look at Brooks Elementary ELA, so our growth score is 14 points above typical growth, which is significant. And in math, we're 5 points above. So this means those students were supposed to score a certain thing, but our students on average scored 14 points above what they were expected to score. It's big. 5 points in math. If you look at Cali, same thing. Our students were above typical growth again, 7 points in ELA, 9 points in math. If you look at Windsor Middle, we were 5 points above in ELA and we were at typical growth in math. But I think I just want to point out, you know, we've got work to do. Some of our students are behind, right? So we don't ever get them caught up unless we make more than typical growth. And so we've been touting all the different things that we're doing to try to make up some of this gap. And what I want to show to you is they're working. So it's something to celebrate, guys. The governor also made his proposal for January, and the COLA is down slightly at 2.43% from 2.93. So first interim, we built it at 2.93. So it'd be a slight reduction in our unrestricted revenues. Another thing that he proposed is student support professional development discretionary block grant, which is, about 1.5 million potentially for us. That's an estimate based on the $1.8 billion that is projected in the state. But this would, I'm sure, have a timeline of 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever whatever it becomes in the end. A really interesting thing that he proposed was with our ELOP funds, which is what we use to run well. Districts right now with an unduplicated percentage of 75% or higher receive quite a bit more funding than we do. So they receive $2,750 per kid, but they have to serve every single student, not just their unduplicated students. So it can get very expensive depending on how many kids are interested. For us, we receive $1,579 per ADA, but what was proposed is lowering that 75% down to 55%. So if you're at 55% or higher, then you would receive the higher amount, but you would have to serve all students. It was just interesting when we're looking at the whole district. Cali is separate from our unduplicated count. They have their own unduplicated count. Oddly enough, if Cali was included in the whole district, we'd have exactly 55%. In terms of this. So take that for what you will, but we just thought it was an interesting thing that we noticed. Also, what was really, I guess, highlighted by the governor was special education and the increased percentage of students in the state. So if you look over the past 12 years, 11 years, you can see that the state percentage of special education students have gone from 11.3 up to 14.6. If you look at the yellow boxes, those are our percentages on the same year. So in 1920, we were at 17.7%, and we have actually trended down each year where we're very close to the state average. That doesn't mean our costs have trended down because services have increased in cost, but in terms of the students qualifying for special education, as a percentage of our district, we have decreased. And the governor definitely noted the rapid increase in autism diagnoses within the IEPs that are in the state. And we can say, yes, we see the exact same thing here in Windsor. Lastly, I have two things. Oh no, is my video not going to play? All right. You want to team me up, Angela? Come on, team me up.
Ready.
Team me up.
All right. Hi, you guys. So last night we are trying to show everybody how awesome our school is and pull kids in from other districts. So what our staff, we agreed to, instead of doing an open house in the spring, that we would do a showcase in January and give people a chance to, we called it an open house showcase as we transition, but let our fifth graders coming in, check out our school, let the sixth graders explore all of our electives, and let people that are out of the district come check out how cool we are when they're making their decisions and their shopping. So we did this last night, and did the tech guy fix it?
Do I just push the button? Do we know? Okay.
So we have, it's a minute video and just kind of giving you guys a snapshot of what we did last night, celebrating Windsor Middle School. Oh, that looks good. Is that good?
Yeah, I mean, I had it embedded, but I guess I don't know what I'm doing. I think it should be noted the turnout was, didn't know what it was going to be. Could have been 2 people, but it definitely wasn't 2 people. So it was definitely a success. And I think something we might continue, Angela?
Yes, sir.
All right. Finally, a little bit more of a somber note. Shauna Buckman, who worked for our district for 18 years, recently as the secretary at Windsor Middle, has passed away after a long battle. She worked in all throughout the district, was really well known, loved, and just an integral part of our family. So her loss will definitely be felt. And so I ask you guys to please join me in offering her family condolences and really just taking a moment to realize that life is short and hug your loved ones. I'm very thankful I got to know Shauna. She's a great person. So I'll remember her with joy and fondness. But thank you guys.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, if I might, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we adjourn our meeting in honor of Sienna Buckman tonight.
Okay, I like that.
And we'll
That would be
recognize
great.
that at the conclusion of the
Let's
meeting.
do that. And I just wanted to give an opportunity if anyone else wants to say any words about her kind of at our leadership team level, or is that kind of what we?
Is that me or?
Yeah, anyone, please.
I just, Shauna was such an important part of our Windsor School family. And when Austin was showing pictures at the beginning of the year of our school improvements, she was right in the middle of her battle. But she was like, let's paint the office. I need a distraction. And, all the ladies in the office and Ezekiel came and helped us out, and we painted the entire office. And that's just a story that encapsulates and is an example of who she was and what she gave our school and our district. And she'll truly be missed. So thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Okay. Moving on to staff association reports. Do we have a report from CSEA or WDEA this evening?
And injured me 12 hours in a bus.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ross McClure. I'm the current president of CSCA Union 673 Local. Glad to meet you all again. It's good to see you all. We are currently in the process. We put our leadership team together, our executive board. We're going to have our first union meeting next Wednesday night. We're going to discuss a few things. We're going to hopefully bring in a lot more people to participate because that's what's necessary. One of the things that was proposed in our e-board meeting that we had together, we'd like to do more fundraisers to raise more money to up our scholarship fund that has been lacking in the last few years. So we've got some really good ideas as far as fundraising like you guys want to do. We're going to compete with you just a little bit, but not much. But we'll do it through our membership. There's almost 300 of us. I'm sure we can make a little money, and we'd like to try and do a better job with our scholarship program that we do every year. We only gave away $500 last year. We could have done way better than that. And we'll try harder this year. And we're looking forward to working with y'all and having a good year. Thank you.
Thanks, Ross.
Susanna Pfeffer, WDEA president. I got a little bit of a list that I wanted to bring up with you. So our members have been attending the budget roadshow and trying to understand it, and are finding it actually rather interesting in light of other things that are coming across the newspapers and news about the California budget and local school district budgets and settlements that are occurring at school districts in our county close to us. So that's the one thing I wanted to let you know, that our membership has become very, very aware of the budget and are learning how to read the budget. So we should be able to have some pretty informed conversations about that. One of the things that we're noticing is that it also looks like the district is getting ready to recruit for certificated staff the earliest ever, which for us is a good thing. We want colleagues that are qualified and highly qualified and talented, and hopefully we can get some. So those are the couple of positive things. So now we're on the inside of the sandwich. We are dealing with aging technology again. It seems like it happens every about 3 or 4 years. I think it's pretty predictable. And our teachers are reporting that they're teaching computers. Those are the devices that they use every day to do the most basic of their educational obligations and instruction. They're starting to fail. And we were wondering why the district was relying on whether the bond passed for replacing such essential everyday instructional equipment. So that was the inside. Now we're back to the outside. I want to, now that we're about halfway done with the school year, I wanted to, and after the election, I wanted to personally invite the board members to meet with me for coffee, tea, something. I know that y'all can't join me at once, but I wanted to reach out. It's what other union presidents do in our area. So you know how to reach me by email. You can shoot me some availability. My schedule is really, really flexible right now, so I can always move things around. So I just wanted to invite you. My treat.
Well, thanks for the invitation and thanks for your update, Susanna. We'll move on to the Board of Trustees report. Do any of my fellow trustees have anything to report? Want to go ahead?
I just have one item. So I want to say that I was very pleased to recently receive an email from a group that is called Líderes del Futuro, who are organizing a caravan in support of immigrants and immigrant resources that's scheduled to take place on February the 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. And as I understand it, they want to be able to borrow the Windsor High School parking lot. So I'm hoping that we can accommodate that just because I feel like this is a very sensitive and vulnerable time for immigrants. And I think ultimately what will happen because of our political climate is that many different people, whether they're documented or not documented, will be racially profiled. So I'm hoping that we could be part of this web of support in favor of immigrants and immigrants finding resources. So I understand from this event that there will be many lowrider car clubs that are supporting this caravan. So I just want to say that I love this idea. And also as a person who's a member of this board, I pledge to continue my support of immigrants as we enter this very difficult political climate. So I just wanted to share that.
Just want to happily report that we have the wrestling tournament once a year. It's a really big event over at the high school. We had about 40 teams from all over everywhere show up. And our high school, we ended up taking second place behind our good friends from Spanish Springs up in Reno. They come every year. They love beating on us. And we get them back once in a while. But anyhow, the reason I'm bringing it up is because when we travel, we get to go to other schools and see kind of what they're doing, and everybody, we all kind of want to keep up with the Smiths, and who's got this and who's got that and whatever. And in this particular weekend, I don't know why or whatever, because a lot of the comments came from schools that normally come. But we got and I was sick as a dog. I mean, I'm wearing a mask the whole time. I actually saw a picture of me with a mask on, and man, I'm an ugly robber. But anyhow, we got so many compliments on the school and our facilities and the upkeep. And one coach came and said something. He goes, "Tell your custodians we love them." And I go, "I'll pass that on. Tell me more." And they go, "It is terrible when you go to these tournaments and sporting events and stuff. The bathrooms get trashed." And it's like, you're thinking, what's worse, going potty there or just where you stand, because it's just sometimes it's just so bad at some places. And I'm sure where you guys have been at different locations that you're like, man, I really don't want to bring my kids in there or what have you. And so anyhow, hats off to our staff for just constantly taking that place and making it look well. The little quad area between the NPR and the whatever, got so many compliments on it this year because the weather was nice. So many young kids and the parents, they had their kids out there playing in that area, and they're going like, we wish our school had something like this. It was just, we just had so many compliments on every aspect of everything. I mean, how the tournament ran, the competition was really good. Just from A to Z, we showcased our school district at the highest level, and there was a lot of envy. And I did hear parents from other schools going like, man, I wish our kids went to this school, or I wish our school was like this. So hats off to everybody. I want to thank, I was so sick for the first time in 30 years. I did nothing. And it was, honestly, it was kind of, I think I want to get sick again next year. But it was so nice to have people, that have done stuff before and took care of things. We really are very fortunate to have a high level of competence in our district in a lot of different things, and not only the ability to do things, but a spirit and a willingness to also to lend everybody's special skills and talents and gifts with everybody else. So I'm very appreciative. It's really nice to be part of our community, and it's a dream come true. And I'm glad that we continue to make the investments that we need to, and we take pride in our facilities and our stuff. So that way, not only do we get to enjoy it, but others from our area get to enjoy it, and outside of the area. But then our future generations, it'll be in good condition for them to be able to enjoy as well. So anyhow, just it's great to be a Jaguar, and it's wonderful to be part of this community. And just want to let you guys know that there are a lot of people that do a lot of extra things that add value, and our name, Windsor Schools is really, it's good. And thank you all.
Okay. A couple things. Last week, Tuesday, we had a real candid, about 2-hour debrief on our bond election. And I think it was helpful to talk through that, brainstorm a bit. I want to acknowledge our 2 student board members who were not only there, but had some very helpful suggestions. And I think the sort of stepping back and regrouping to look at that likely being back on the ballot sometime soon, which is not really anytime soon, may not even be this year. But that was helpful, and I always admire when we have frank conversations amongst our colleagues in the administration, and particularly Austin. Thank you, and coordinating with our consultant. In a couple of weeks, on February 12th, we'll be in this chamber. It's been a little while since we've done it, with a joint meeting with the town of Windsor. So the town council and the school board get together. As you can imagine, we have overlapping issues. We have complementary issues. And I would encourage you, any of you who are, that I'm sure that'll be online as well. But I look forward to that and appreciate our colleagues who sit here when we're not sitting here. Finally, the superintendent didn't mention it, although we briefly discussed it in his report and then some things in closed session. But sort of following up on Trustee Lopez, we, of course, are very concerned about certain executive orders and pronouncements coming out of Washington, D.C. in the last, what would that be, 96 hours. I was on the board 8 years ago after an election in 2016 and in early 2017. I can remember just the hateful graffiti that was at Cali, and we mobilized our community. So we're aware of that. We're working on those issues. I can share with you that it's called the Gang of 40, the 40 superintendents, of which our superintendent is one of the co-chairs of that, elected by his peers, are working to make sure that we are aware of the constantly evolving landscape in that. I know some of the staff got an email yesterday, day before, just here are some orders. Some of the, one of the orders was, there was an injunction issued up in Seattle today by a federal court judge. So I didn't, and that he did not mention it. I did not want to have it not be mentioned, that we are not very vigilant about it. We're about it. We have staff members, families, students, all of which could be at risk with their immigrant status, their document status, their racial and ethnic characterizations, et cetera. So we're very aware of that. And I'm sure there's going to be more to come. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be shaped by the reaction to what is actually done from some of the, I'll just call it hateful talk and plans that have been put out there, and we just don't know what's going to happen. But I didn't want to have this meeting not address that our colleagues up here, your staff, every member of the school communities, there's community leaders and family members are aware of this, and we're just going to have to be vigilant as we go forward. So, yeah, I'm sorry that we are back to the future from 8 years ago when we were sitting here in January of 2017. So with that, I'm done.
I forgot one very important thing. We're constantly, I know that I'm always recruiting, trying to get, hey man, when's this? Get somebody here. Let me send Pete a resume, blah, blah, blah. So under the attract and retain part, right? Sometimes it's hard to get people to come here. And then sometimes, unfortunately, people have to leave for a variety of different reasons, right? But I'm happy that we get to retain somebody because they don't have to move away. But it just all depends on whether they want to make an announcement or not about the fact that they don't have to move away anywhere because they don't have to go anywhere. Austin, you got anything you want to tell anybody or under, don't want to throw you under the bus or anything.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of people crying, but not.
So Rich has been trying to set me up with any girl that he knows, so that way I would stay in Windsor, including his own daughters.
When I saw him golf, I was going, I got to get him in the family.
And so he was a little heartbroken, but also very happy to hear that I got engaged. Yeah. So thank you, Rich.
And she's local.
Yeah, she is a local, so we will be staying here for the time being. Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
That's great. That's really interesting because I kind of wanted to do an Austin appreciation announcement. No, just, you're doing great. I just want you to know that. We love working with you, and you have done such a good job with the budget and the financials. So I join Rich in congratulating you and everyone here. So, when you're just so busy that you can't think of one or two things to do a report on. So my mind is kind of like soup, and I'm not thinking of just a specific thing to call out because we just have so many things going on. But I will call out, I think, themes that everyone has spoken to, which are that I think we just are so lucky to work with a team and work with a board that wants to really get in and do the work, because I think there are some times when things can kind of get on autopilot and you see it in different places and but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be totally different. And I think it comes down to when people want to jump in and solve hard problems. And I think everyone here wants to do that. And it just makes it so much more exciting. And you see things start to happen that are so positive. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize literally everyone, but just that we have a bunch of hard workers and we're so lucky that we do. Okay. On that note, any more board reports? We're good. Okay. So approval of minutes from December 19th, just jumping right in.
I move approval as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. I think we have one absent, so we should note the minutes to reflect that. And then next we have our item 3.9 staff recognitions presented by Pete Sullivan. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So fortunately for you all, you're going to be entertained because Angela West is here to do the Angela Show. So rather than have me introduce, she is going to step in and authentically appreciate the awesomeness at her campus but you will not shake me. I will still appear at your campus at some point next month, hopefully with some board members. Would you let us know what day you would like us to arrive so I can present gifts and embarrass your folks?
Thanks.
Thank you. And Angela West, y'all.
Thanks, Pete. Oh, that was a perfect segue, right? We're talking about hard workers and the best of the best, and I would like to honor two the best of the best at Windsor Middle School. We have our classified and our teacher of the year, and these were voted on by their peers. So this wasn't somebody that I was like, oh, yay. This was, hey, everybody nominate and pick the people that you would like to honor for teacher and classified of the year. So Cynthia, can you come up? Cynthia Caballero is our classified person of the year, and I'm really thrilled to recognize her tonight. She's an incredible special education professional who brings patience, kindness, and positive actions to everything she does. She has a gift for making students feel safe, respected, and ready to learn. Her bilingual skills are a huge asset to our school, whether she's supporting our English learners, translating during important meetings, or just helping families feel connected and welcome. She's always willing to lend a hand, whether it's stepping into a class or ensuring student safety as our campus crossing guard. That's a whole nother, I bow down. And Cynthia's warmth and dedication makes such a big and special difference every day at Windsor Middle School. So thank you, Cynthia. And I won't do all the quotes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jessica Corcoran, come on up. You might have seen Jessica in the video. She's our AVID coordinator, and she was showcasing also our social science. And I'm really excited to celebrate Jessica tonight. She's a key part of our team for many years. How many years, Jess?
I don't want to say.
Come on.
I don't really know. I think maybe close to almost maybe 30 years.
You guys, 30 years, retain the best, 30, right? Give it up.
Long time.
Yeah, and her impact goes far beyond the classroom. She's done amazing work with our multi-language learners, and I want to say we've had, how many newcomers in your class?
I have at least 10.
10. So she's teaching 10 students at a time that don't speak any English, and she's stepped up to the challenge, and she's like, I'll take them. What do I need to do? And she's making a huge difference for those children. As a classroom teacher, she's helping lead change, building the PLCs at Windsor Middle School. She is on our department lead team for social science. She's also the AVID coordinator, and so she's really got her hand in shaping what's making our school great. But what stands out most about Jessica is her kindness and dedication. She's someone I can always count on for advice and support, dressing. She's always a snazzy dresser, or just, look how cute she is. And just her positive attitude. And she's one of those people that lifts people up around her, and people gravitate towards her, staff and students alike. So I'm super honored to say that she's our teacher of the year at Windsor Middle School.
So we love meeting celebrities, so we were hoping we could get a picture with the two of you as a board, and with Angela too.
There you go.
Just try to block Rich.
Yeah.
Do we squat down?
You're only,
Yeah, we're good. Do you want me to go in the back?
I'm not that short. Oh, wow, yeah, here, hold on. Malinelli, wait a minute. Malinelli's not going to get seen. But there you go. Can you see Malinelli now?
Can I go this way? Yeah, go that way.
I need Angela's hair in front of me.
Thank you. Hopefully my face sort of.
I think you.
Okay, we're moving on to our consent action items. We have a few changes I just want to re-note. We're going to table item 4.8. And then item 4.6, we don't have the correct document uploaded. Do we need to wait until our next meeting so we can upload the correct document?
We need to get it done because they're about to select courses. I've sent the correct document to Diane and Lori. It's already been vetted by SCO. This is just my error of uploading the wrong document. But the course that's actually going to be submitted to UC Doorways is the correct course.
Okay.
I can do it now.
You can see it.
I think it needs to be sent to us before the end of the meeting, and we can, we're going to table 4.6 to our last item, so we can get that, maybe even get it posted, if we can switch it out. Okay, and then I'll turn it over to Rich to do the other, everything except 4.6 and 4.8.
4.2.
4.2?
We had a request for a change for 4.2.
Oh.
So we'd just like to have the board recognize, we would like to make a change to the column of the certificated seniority list related to the status, and we're going to make that alteration and resubmit.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to try this and everybody,
Just one.
Hang on, before we get to motion, just so we're clear, Pete, from the HR perspective, is the appropriate union leadership aware of this and supporting the change to the seniority list?
Thank you for asking. Yes, it was actually brought to my attention by WDEA, and they approve of the change.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks.
so I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent items 4.1, 4.2 as amended, 4.3, 4, and 5. We're going to put 4.6 on the agenda later. 4.7, we're omitting 4.8, and then we're going to include 4.9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on those items since we are going to pull 4.6 off and discuss? 4.8 is removed and 4.2 is amended and it's been approved by our agencies.
I don't have anything.
So, I'm sorry. Just to be clear, is 4.2 being tabled to a future meeting? Or to later tonight?
No, they just corrected a column
I see.
versus the one that we actually got.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Did I say it right?
You did.
Good job.
Yeah. Okay, well then we'll take a vote.
Yep.
All in
Oh,
favor?
no, we need a second.
I
you
think
did? Got it.
I think we got a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? One absent. Okay, consent is done.
So then you're going to move.
Now we're moving on to,
One of the
okay,
fives
we've
got moved
moved item 5.5 to our first item. It'll be 5.1. So this is our update on food services.
Thank you. And of course, I have to bring food, right?
Yeah.
That was a requirement.
You want help? I don't have it.
Huh? Oh.
You need help?
Want to go get one?
Sure.
What's in my car? No, it's not the
You're just going to, you're bringing the eat yours.
What?
Because I think that door will lock me out.
I'll open it. You don't want to get it.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there we go. Oh, hi there. Are these from high school?
No.
Oh.
So all the pastries are at the middle school.
Yeah, the middle school.
There's also some.
Can we take these out?
I know, I think we need to.
There's no competition.
We'll come and pass some of this stuff out so that no one's left out.
Says the skinny.
Let's put these over on the table for everybody.
Bill, there's a reason I ran for the board. It was for this food report.
Are these whole wheat chocolate croissants?
They are.
Wow. That's,
Now, you said the middle school, they made these?
Want somebody can just, oh.
does anyone want one before we,
School made these?
you want one before we?
Is it chocolate or?
Yeah, chocolate.
I'll do a fruity flavor. I'm not a big chocolate person. I mean, I am big.
Yeah, they're passing the box around.
Did you tell, that's what they look, anyone want to tell what, like,
Maybe.
Oh, Matt?
Let me help Malinelli. Is there a,
They don't. They're gonna.
yeah. Give one for Mal here.
Okay.
Those croissants were baked fresh this morning at the middle school. The high school also serves them. So our year started off with our mandatory food service training, which took place at the high school. And then we loaded onto a Windsor school bus and went on a field trip to Cousteau's French Bakery in Santa Rosa. Here's some pictures of my staff at the bakery on the tour. They toured the facility, had some hands-on fun.
You're about to get, you want you to step up to the mic.
Oh, okay, sorry. They had some hands-on fun, enjoyed a wonderful lunch before heading back. The staff also went home with bags of freshly baked pastries and bread supplied from Cousteau's. So here are some of the items that we have. The croissants are the only items that are baked fresh in the kitchens, but these are the seasonal conchas that we have. We have regular conchas on a weekly basis. They serve them every Friday. So during the summer, I worked with Will Seppi, the owner of Cousteau's, on reformulating some of their recipes. It took quite a while and quite an effort on Cousteau's part, but we served dinner rolls, cornbread, muffins, conchas, croissants, and also the high school and middle school just started serving a grilled cheese, which I think you mentioned. It's actually a baked cheese sandwich on their focaccia bread, and that's become very popular.
No wonder my kids aren't making weight.
So, and you all know that I purchased the little mini vehicle, the food truck. It made its debut at Cali at the beginning of the summer, or the beginning of the school year, actually right before school year started. And the parents and the students were getting to know the campus, so we passed out fruit pops as they were walking around. The 7th and 8th grade students have been enjoying lunch from the Windsor Middle School, which offers them different choices of entrees, along with a wide variety of fresh fruits and vegetables. We're feeding around 100 to 125 students at Cali with that food truck every day. So some of the comments that they gave, they are enjoying the convenience, the different options, and the overall quality of the food. Something else I purchased, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, 2 hydroponic gardens. I purchased those at the beginning of the year. They were for Brooks Elementary, and Allie Hartley and the garden class maintained them. They began slow and planted romaine and leaf lettuce for their trial run. And as you can see, it was very successful for the first harvest. The cafeteria prepared a garden salad that the students served themselves. These gardens grow up to 40 pounds of produce in 1 month. Allie and the students will begin planting Thai basil, cilantro, more lettuce, as well as mini peppers, cucumbers, and tomatoes in the upcoming week. Managing the second garden was a little overwhelming for the class, so it sat unused. But I learned quickly that the middle school was looking for a hydroponic garden. So I reached out to the science program there, and they were really excited, and we should be seeing some produce from that garden as well.
Can those things grow lettuce all year round?
Yes. Yep. They can grow strawberries, tomatoes, cucumbers, herbs.
How about iceberg lettuce?
Yes.
Saving a marriage.
But we don't serve iceberg lettuce in the schools, sorry.
I know, but you're saving. It's not, neither does a Big Mac, but I still eat that.
So here's some pictures of the kids with their salad. They were really excited the day that they saw us walking in with all the lettuce that we harvested. And then when they knew that they were getting fresh salad from the garden the next day, they were really excited. So I believe in producing more leaders, not followers, and reclassifying the food service service 2 workers as food service leads gave them a better sense of leadership at their sites. I have seen a lot of growth in all of them. as they have stepped out of the box to lead their supporting staff. This requires the leads to obtain training and knowledge that they might not have had in the past. The California School Nutrition Association holds an annual conference, and I felt that there was no better place for them to find this training. So I thank you for allowing me to take them. We went to Sacramento in November. At the conference, the ladies attended such sessions such as building relationships in the workplace, scratch cooking, do more and more, building a stronger food service team, and farm to table, finding farms and procuring products. They were able to network with other food service employees from all over California and talk to many school nutrition manufacturers. Most importantly, they were able to get to know one another on a more personal level and are now working together to help each other be better leaders. So here's some fun pictures of them with some vendors and us out on the town in Sacramento. They had a good time. So this is most of my team, the Christmas party, and I feel this year it's a really strong team. And they're all working very well together. So we thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. I was at a couple different things over the holidays where I saw other school district leaders from other districts inside this county and others. And I was stunned because several of them made a point about how their food service people talk about our food service program.
Wow.
And how, as you know, in many places, as Austin has shared with us, the food service is a loss leader. It has to be, because just routinely, as a given, is subsidized out of the general fund. And our situation under your leadership is the reverse. You actually produce things like money to buy a taco vehicle and hydroponic gardens. And I just wanted to note that because I was here when there was a line item of several $100,000 that came out of the general fund, not subsidized. That's what food service cost at that time. And now it flows the other way. And thank you very much for that. And for the leadership, I think that it shines from the people who, working the bottom, for some of these are the smiling faces, that and the custodians, the smiling faces that these kids see at school.
Yep.
And that makes an extraordinary difference. So
thank you.
Thank you. Please pass that along to your folks.
I also want to second that, and I wanted to say thank you for your wonderful work. So I've also experienced the taco truck firsthand. And I just want to say that I'm a person that unfortunately has to be gluten-free because I have an allergy to gluten. So it really makes me happy also just to see the diverse cuisine that you have. So for example, I saw in the presentation that you had pozole and then, the salad offerings. So it makes me happy that you don't just have, wheat-based items, which I think is really important since I know there's a growing number of people that are developing a gluten allergy as well.
There is.
So, so thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just echo what others have said. I know we've seen in data and survey information before that food at school is really important to kids. It makes them, not only nourishes them and gives them the energy to focus, but it also makes them feel happy and safe at school and cared for. So what you do is very important. It's like central to teaching.
Thank you.
Do our students have anything to say?
You're eating it.
Didn't mean to cold call.
Yeah, it's really cool. Sometimes like don't have time to pack lunch, or I need breakfast in the morning and I just don't have time like when I roll out of bed. And it's really nice to just have that option, especially for students that might not be able to have like the financial support to afford meals, and to be able to come to school and realize that they are in a safe environment where they have access to that stuff and they don't have to pay. That's just wonderful. You're doing an amazing job.
I agree. I remember when I was in elementary school, we had to pay for lunches, so I personally wasn't able to get them. But I think like with the developments now that they're free, I think it's such a good option for so many students. I see people running to the lunch line sometimes, it's funny to see. And then just trying this, thank you for bringing it to us. It's really good. It's actually better than I expected. So yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I'm munching over here. That Danish was so good.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you so much.
And you can leave it right over there. You don't have to we'll make sure it's
I'll make
taken
sure.
care
Okay.
of.
You want to leave this here?
Do we have any comments from the public before we wrap up this presentation. Okay.
Lunch truck's amazing at Cali. The kids are so much happier. They used to have the truck all the way down, and then they'd be like, I didn't get enough food because, it wasn't like.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just reiterate your point because I think it's really important, because I had middle schoolers and like they were so hungry because the lunch was the middle school at Cali, that area is so far from where the food service is. And I imagine that now that there's food in close proximity to where they are, that it's fixed a lot of issues that existed previously. And it's just one of those things where like a solution that's not what you would have thought would be the solution is the solution. So yeah, thank you.
Hey, Stephanie.
Doing you're supposed to, so we have more middle schoolers eating that every day.
Yeah. So since that's not on the mic, you said that it makes eating cooler, like, right? That you're getting it from a food truck, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Hey, Jen, before you go anywhere, I wanted to reiterate kind of what Bill said, because I remember 3 years ago when we hired Jen, we did have the issue. I remember it. We had about $150,000 that we were spending out of the general fund to cover food service. And Jen came in, she goes, well, have you seen the food? It's awful. You know, they're just warming it up in the microwave. They're serving it to the kids. They're not going to want to eat it. And at the time, I remember thinking, well, if we have better food and more scratch cooking, that's even higher costs. And she's like, but then the participation pays for it. You know, it was kind of one of those, you had to trust her. And we ended up trusting her. And then I remember about 3 months later, it was actually Jackson Caligari, who was a former student board member, mentioned that now he tried to get as many meals as he could without the lunch ladies realizing it, which was the first sign of. But then, I had a call today with one of the principals sitting over there, Angela West. Angela, do you want to share what you...
Really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi again. So last night at the showcase, we had, I don't know how many prospective families. We had like almost 200 people in our library, packed in, standing room only. Tell us about your school. We want to know. And somebody asked about the food. And I spend a lot of time, because sometimes there's leftovers, and it's a good way to meet kids and make sure they're composting. And so they said, what's the food like? And I said, what's the food like? Well, just today we had pozole with chips. We had fresh salad bar. We had our grilled cheese sandwiches on piccata with tomato soup. We had pizza. We had cheeseburgers. We had hamburgers, and we had fresh fruits and vegetables. And they said, wait, today? And I said, yeah, that was the menu today at our middle school. So, bam.
That's a great way to end the item. Okay, now we'll go to 5.2, consideration of, originally 5.1, consideration of approval for the 2024 California School Dashboard and Local Control Accountability Plan, the LCAP mid-cycle update. This item is being presented by Brian Williams.
So I've included that report, the mid-cycle update for the LCAP, and I've included the report for the mid-cycle update for Cali-Calmacac because it's required by law. And I will absolutely give you that presentation if you really want it after our principals present. But we thought what kind of accomplishes the same purpose is to actually hear from the boots on the ground of what's actually going on, and you'll know what, as we transition from first semester to second semester, all the growth that we've made. So I think, Danielle, you are kicking us off.
Yes, Danielle. Right. Thank you. I have my boots on. I wore them just for that. Hi, it's nice to see everybody. It's nice to be here. I was excited to go first tonight because then I didn't have to go after Angela, but she still got to go before me, so it's fine. Here we are. Middle child syndrome. Yeah. That's okay. We have a lot of good stuff to celebrate, right? Like we've got Renstar on here, we've got Youth Truth, and I really just want to spend some time calling out the amazing work that our teachers are doing. So if we start with looking at Renstar, looking at English, and looking at math, we made some growth, right? 61 to 64% and 22 to 26%. And it speaks to two things. It speaks to what our teachers are doing in the classroom, but I think it also really speaks to shifting the culture at our school around testing, right? Because for many years, we were told that the tests don't matter, right? There was all that time where they kind of put that on pause. And then we were navigating iReady, right? And nobody liked iReady because that test went on for hours when students had to take it. And now we're finally in the place where we've got RenStar and we've got CASP and all of it matters now. And we're really shifting and demonstrating that. So I'm happy to see that growth. And I want to call out a couple teachers. Josh Allard put in like some incentives. Basically, he offered kind of some extra credit and really talked up the purpose of the test. And all of his 11th graders made improvement. And then Kate Fitzgerald, she actually printed out the reports and went over each report with her students before they did the second round of testing. All of her 11th graders made improvement, right? Because there's relevance now behind the test. It's not just a number or something that they have to do. Mike Sweeney, all of his Math 1 classes, they all showed improvement. Teresa Haney's Math 3 classes, those all went up. And Murdoch's English classes, those also all went up. So I think as we start to continue talking about data and its importance, we're going to continue to see those scores rise. So I'm really proud of the work that they had done there. I also just want to mention that two of our subgroups, right, students with disabilities and then our multilingual learners, they're not on here, but both of those subgroups also made progress in RenStar. And again, I think that just speaks to what our teachers are doing, especially in those two areas. We've got our RSP teachers are pushing into the classroom instead of pulling our students out anymore. And we're seeing that in their scores. We have the RISE Corps that's really, dedicated to our newcomers, and they've built an amazing community. And we're seeing the positive results of that show up in RenStar and their grades. So we had a really cool growth there. If we move on to my teachers make an effort outside, to understand what life is like outside of school. We look at I feel safe during school, growth in both of those areas, which is exciting. We use pulse checks throughout the year to really kind of gauge where we're at with that. We picked my teachers make an effort because that was initially one of our lowest from when we got the Youth Truth scores last January. And then school safety, that's always been a priority. And so when we had initially done a pulse check in the beginning of the year, students were talking about what they needed to feel safe. And as a direct result of that, we did a school-wide safety presentation. We pulled in every single core and we talked about, here are the things that we do at Windsor High School to keep you safe. And here's how, you should react in these different situations. And so as we did that follow-up pulse check, we can see, right, that made a difference. Students are aware and they know what to do in those different situations. And so now they're feeling safer. And then we jumped down to, I receive regular feedback about my child's progress. Again, we made that shift to getting all of our grades in Jupyter Gradebook. And we're really kind of shifting to getting communication to be either from Jupyter or Parent Square. And again, our parents are appreciating that. Unfortunately, our pulse check went down a little bit when it comes to, I feel empowered to make a meaningful role in my decision-making, for staff. But really, I think that speaks to the purpose of a pulse check, which is really to find out how are we doing in this moment? Are we on the right track or do we need to make some adjustments? And so I think having that feedback is good for us to know, and it helps us kind of adjust for the rest of the year. It's tricky right now with admin CPT being given up to really support the PLT process, that time for us to come together as staff has decreased. So I think a lot of things go into that, but again, it's an area of growth for us. So I think it's a good thing to see that. Continuing, so one that's super exciting, right? Our 9th graders who earned a D or an F. Last year, the average was 44%, and that dropped, right? So this is where we want the percentage to go down. We don't want it to go up. So for that to decrease by 10%, I think that's huge. Because if you look at it long term, right, that's students who aren't having to take credit makeup classes, that's students who aren't having to do summer school, that's students who are on track to be A through G ready. That speaks a lot to setting them off on the right track. And, I think we can attribute a couple things. I mean, freshman seminar, I love that class. And I've had the opportunity to go in and sub for those teachers, and they leave me a whole list. This person needs to work on math and English, and this person needs to work on their science, and this person needs to work on X, Y, and Z. And having that one-to-one contact with a teacher who's like, hey, I pulled up your Jupyter. Why didn't you turn that in? We worked on that last week. Like, that makes a difference. And we're seeing that in their grades. So I'm very proud of the work that they've done there and that 34% drop. And then the last one, the percent of students that are college and career ready, this is a tough one to even be able to predict. So I think Jeremy shared with you. No, you didn't get a chance to. Okay. So I want to say there's 11 indicators that, they base the college and career readiness off of. And I've shared with Jeremy, I'm happy to hang out with the board and go over all of those because they're so intricate and so tied to, multiple factors that it's really hard to predict that. But I would say we're making some good progress in a lot of places. So for example, one of the ways to move the indicator is if our students earn a 3 or higher on both the math and the English CASP score. And so what I've been working with Joel is how can we really promote CASP and what it means for students? I learned this. I didn't realize that a lot of CSUs use it as a placement test. And so if I didn't know that, I don't know how many other students don't know that. And if many of them are going to CSUs, then that's important. You want to do well on that. Otherwise, you're having to take extra classes. Another one is if you earn a 3 or higher on 2 AP exams. Well, right now, 20% of our seniors are signed up for 2 or more AP tests. The percentage of students that have been taking AP tests has just continued to grow every single year. So, and then, we know about our CTE courses and, continuing to add those, but the tricky part to that CTE course is that you need a JC course to partner, right, to move that dashboard number, or you needed to do well on CASP. So what are we doing? We're working with the JC, bringing more JC courses to our campus so that students have access to that. So I think we're making a lot of moves, making a lot of growth, and it's exciting stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks. We're going to hold our questions as a board until the end. So when we don't jump in, don't be worried that we're not saying anything, and we'll make a note of things that we want to ask.
All right. Next up is Heather Christensen.
All right.
Eating some of those snacks helps.
Hello there. All right. So at Big Picture Learning Windsor, we are adapting to the change that we went through last year. So we're about a semester into Big Picture Learning Windsor. We continue to focus on competencies, and for the scorecard, we're looking at communication and quantitative reasoning. And our overall goal is for students to be at 85%. 85% of our 12th graders scoring a 3 or better based on the rubric. And at some point, I really would like to have board members and any other interested community members come to our campus and learn about competencies and how we're evaluating our students there. I've done a demonstration for the board in the past about evaluating students on this, but I think there's a lot to dig into there so that you can understand what our students are doing. In terms of the competencies, the reason we picked 3 is that most college students would be at 3 or above based on our competency and evaluations. And you can see overall, students have growth over the years, and it goes from what we have overall, 45% of our students have a 3 or above in communication, and actually the number is the same for quantitative reasoning, which you would know those as English and math. And at 11th grade, that number goes up but by 12th grade in communication, 100% of our students are at 3 or above, and the same thing is true for our quantitative reasoning numbers. So there's a lot of growth. I don't have my 9th grade numbers up there, but 9th graders are at about a 0 right now at being 3 and above because they're brand new and they're just learning these things, and we're building on it. So there's a lot of growth that you can see in the competencies. In terms of college and career indicators, we are preparing students to go to a career or go to the JC. And right now, in September, you could see we had 50% of our students out in internships working with mentors in the real world. Our number right now is 69%. And 20% of our students are taking classes at the Santa Rosa Junior College right now. And some of our students are taking both a class at the junior college and have an internship in the real world. Our goal is to get that up to 80%, and I just had a meeting with our LTI coordinator today, and we're getting really close to that number now. In terms of all staff connected and thriving, the school creates a positive work environment. You can see that number went down in our pulse check, but I spoke with our staff and there was a little bit of, they weren't sure where they were giving feedback. Were they giving feedback to the district or were they giving feedback to our actual school environment? So there was some mix in there. So I am working on communicating with my staff and making sure that they are feeling like they're in a positive work environment. And Jeremy and I have had some conversations about that too. In terms of employee engagement survey, I'm waiting for the spring survey on that. And our goal is to improve at least 5% on that. The community remains strongly supportive of our mission, and we're waiting for the Youth Truth Survey results on that. Now, those where our strengths lie in building relationships with the community and our families and getting students out working in the real world. So these are some of the activities and strategies, and I'm really focusing on the staff communication. And then I'm going to be working with our site committee to review these activities and strategies and see what kind of changes that we need to be making. And, all right.
Hello, everyone. This is Beatriz Robles.
I'm Flora Hurtado.
Okay, we're here representing Lidia Teruel. She can't be here with us tonight, but she has a message. She was really looking forward to sharing all the great things and highlight the data for you guys tonight, but we're going to do our best to honor in a very abbreviated version of her presentation. So we're going to do our best. Let's see. Okay. Oh, so there it starts. We had our notes on a previous presentation that she wasn't able to do about the highlights of Cali. It's not there, but can we mention a few things that she wanted to do? So one of the things that she wanted to share with you was the award that Cali received last spring. Innovation in education, and award related to our climate and culture. And we had a short video, but it's not part of the presentation. And that's what Ms. Behrens was here to share. And then Lori, you want to talk about the other events that she wanted to share?
Okay, I'll just use this. So we'd like to also acknowledge we just had a Dia de los Muertos event, and it was inspiring to see parents, teachers, and students and administrators unite to celebrate and experience cultural traditions such as Aztec indigenous groups sharing their dances. A special thanks to Yesenia Ledesma, our school counselor, for her outstanding leadership in making this possible. We also have reading buddies going on at our school site. We're really proud. Thank you to AP Robles behind me, because she was our leader and organizing this wonderful event. Reading initiative with across the grade levels, where older kids come down to read with the younger kids and across the grade levels, and it's bringing the community together within our school. And also adding to that, we have a group of teachers that are participating in the P3 CC Math program, and this is teachers in TK through second are introducing interactive, authentic math activities that make learning fun and engaging. Students take the lead in their learning, and teachers are guiding and coaching them along the way. So we kind of wanted to acknowledge all the great things that are going on in our school, and we're just so proud of who we are.
So go to the next one over here. So here we have our TK data. It shows that most TK students are progressing towards the integrating earlier stage on the DRDP formative assessment. Teachers use these observation-based results to adjust their instructional practices and plan lessons that support student learning and development effectively. We see that close to 80% of our TK students are getting ready for the next grade level. And we have a number down here where We have English language development at 76%. It's something that we're actually looking in how we can adjust and work with our model because more of our students are coming in with a stronger foundation in English. It's not necessarily a negative thing, just something we need to consider when we plan in the future. So I'm just highlighting it as something we're going to work on. And on to the next slide. Okay. Oh, she had these there. This is a different version than what we got. So I'm going to keep moving. Okay. So here we have cross-grade level data in Spanish, math, and English language arts. We have the K2 span and the 3 through 5th span, and then at the bottom, the 6th through 8th. We see, let me read what I have here instead. Okay. We've seen notable progress among students, including our English language learners and students with disabilities. Through the PLC process, teachers are identifying key standards, setting focused learning goals, and using formative assessments to guide and support student learning. Some of the instructional practices include, or some of the things we've changed are pushing models for both reading intervention and RSP and support services. We are working to further prepare teachers to differentiate instruction during our EAGLE time, which is our targeted intervention period. In the upper grades, we have restructured our math support classes, our ELD classes, and our RSP services to ensure that students take electives, but they also get the support that they need in all the academic areas.
Super proud. Okay, so here we're looking at some of the data from the Youth Truth Survey and then the pulse checks that we're administering to both students, staff, and parents. Looking at the data across the pillars, we see growth in all the areas measured on the 5-point scale. These positive results can be attributed to our commitment to enhancing the climate and culture of our school. We have implemented various initiatives, including assemblies, a focus on social emotional learning, fostering connections amongst students and staff, and engaging families through community building events such as Dia de los Muertos, literacy nights, social media education for parents, and our outstanding athletics program. And I also want to just add in, because we weren't able to highlight that, but we are, our culture and climate team here on our campus has really been working to foster those connections within the community, within our community, Cali community. And I want to acknowledge all the hard work that Christine Behrens has done in building those connections, creating such a beautiful family tree that is displayed in room 12. If you ever get a chance to go see it, it just shows all the familiar connections within our school and outside the school, because we also have community members that are part of that tree. So I really want to, reiterate all the work that has gone into building that climate of positivity in our school. And we're seeing those results in our feedback that we're receiving from parents, students, and teachers as well. So good job. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You did great. You did great. Are you clicking?
Oh, it's us? Oh.
Are we missing middle school, or is that?
Good evening.
I think.
Did we skip the middle school? Middle child. Yeah.
You just passed me,
There it
friend.
is. Oh, no, it's not there.
There. Oh, there.
Well, it looks like someone didn't want Angela to have her moment.
All right.
We'll figure that out.
There's the Brooks Jaguar. I'm a little bit partial or biased. That's the cutest Jaguar, I think, of all of them. All right. Good evening. I am happy to present tonight. I did go through a transition from December to January and have been 3 weeks now in my new role as your Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. I am having a great time, and I'm always busy and always a little overwhelmed, but I'm having a really good time learning and being at all the sites. And I spent the 3 days in the last 2 weeks at Cali working with their professional learning teams, and they're just rocking it. It's just so exciting to see the work they're doing. At Brooks, I threw in a column, guys. I don't think anybody else did. I broke the template, but I put a change column and the percentage of change for each of these indicators. So really proud to say that school-wide, we had went from 35% of our students at the beginning of the year showing readiness to perform on the CASP at meeting or exceeding grade level standards. Our teachers are working really hard. Brooks has an amazing group of committed, collaborative, hitting the ground hard in their professional learning teams, and they made growth school-wide in ELA and in math. We broke both of our goals, if you can see there. December knocked out the goals for the end of the year, so we need to recalibrate that. Third grade made big growth in the amount of students ready for the CASP, and in math, there was some growth. There was slight growth. If fourth grade did a great job, consistent, they're consistent. That is a challenging grade level. We see it year after year. Third grade students go from an environment where the ratio is 1 to 24, sometimes with an 8 in the class, to 1 to 30. And the standards become much more rigorous all of a sudden. And so we are not surprised when we see fourth grade working really hard. Those teachers are sweating and tired, and they're getting it done. Fifth grade also showed beautiful growth. We have a really collaborative professional learning teams happening up there, and that math team is just killing it. So really proud of Abby Wilson, Scotty Anderton, and the team that does, we have a shared job share in Jenny Hirschnitz and Allie Hartley's class. So really excited to share that Brooks' strategies are working. I'll get to the strategies right after this one. I want to just show that we showed some growth in students' feelings of belonging from September to December. I'm sorry, that the 35% is actually last January's Youth Truth administration. So we're showing some growth. I wanted to add to that, 50% is students saying, I always feel like an important part of my school, but 34% more students said they feel important sometimes. So to combine, that's an 84% where we have students feeling like they belong and they're an important part of their school. In the all staff connected and thriving categories from last year to this year, staff is reporting that our school is setting high expectations for students. I apologize, there was a glitch in my pulse check for the families indicator, but we will have those results from this month's administration. We'll have it very soon. I just want to highlight, I'm sorry, these are our targeted subgroups. English language learners, or multilingual language learners as we now call them, showed a drop in the percentage of students ready to meet or exceed standards on the CASP. I just want to explain, though, that an English language learner is in the cohort being tested, but in the fall, we do reclassify students who are ready, and we're continuing to reclassify. So that group is actually changing all throughout the year. 2 times we'll see the group change, and then we will also see newcomers coming in. And so I'm working with our coordinator, Robin Fletcher, and Jen Guerrero at SCO to see if there are other ways for us to measure progress for our English language learners, because it's really important that we pay close attention. And I'm not always very this isn't something that gives me information that is useful. So we're planning you may see some different reporting from me in the coming months. Our Hispanic group of students are showing growth from the September baseline, and our English learners are showing growth in math. Just want to highlight that the Brooks team has been meeting weekly in professional learning teams for a year and a half. They have clear norms, they have clear expectations, they know what they're doing, they're looking at the data, they're creating common formative assessments, they're definitely leading the way in demonstrating that this work makes a difference when teachers have time to collaborate with each other. So I'd like to highlight that as one of the strategies that I believe is making the difference and moving the needle. In addition, there is right now monthly awards assemblies that are happening, but there's also weekly assemblies for social emotional learning, where our counselors and our dean of students spend a lot of time planning for teaching. One morning a week with each grade level to support students in gaining the skills they need to self-regulate and participate meaningfully and positively with their school and classmates. All right, that's all.
Thank you.
Am I going? Yeah. Pick me,
Yeah. Do we have a presentation for Angela? Okay, great.
I'm going to wing it. And
Took it off, so we had to.
I know. No.
It's fine. It's fine.
We just wanted to see you do it without a presentation.
Just do it blind.
Good try.
Yeah. Actually, I never really know what I'm going to say until I get up here. So, but I do, Rich, when you said it's good to be a Jaguar, it really, really is. And we have so much pride and excitement at the middle school. And I was looking at our scores, and everything went up and some were tied, but it feels really good at the middle school right now. And I was like, why? Why does it feel good? And specific strategies. And I'm going to start with, we were dedicated with our leadership team at the beginning of the year. With the help with the DO, we came up with the Bell schedule to look at our targeted subgroups, to look at all students and to prepare them for success at high school and beyond. And what we were going to do with boots on the ground going. And we came up with a schedule that had built-in intervention for all kids. So when we look at this, I'm looking at it holistically. Our RINSTAR scores, they went up. We took a baseline for everything, and either it was a pulse check or RINSTAR in September. And I'm happy to announce for our Youth Truth already, we're at 100% of our students and 98% of our staff. Okay, families, if you're watching, don't forget to take it. We're still a little low there. But when we look at students connected and thriving, do they like coming to school? We went from 39 to 57. I'm really excited about that the climate and the culture, it feels good at school. And I think some of the things I'm going to talk about, it's because of that, because if we're targeting subgroups, we're really enhancing the experience for all of our kids at our schools. When I'm feeling upset, I have an adult I can talk to, and I was happy to see that number grow. Our staff, hey, we're working to improve, and we set high expectations for kids, and that our parents would recommend our school for someone that's seeking a school for their child. So some of the things real quick that we've been doing. I talked about our schedule, and I've been up here telling you about all of our great electives. But besides the electives, our built-in interventions that I think are making, helping us make movements with our kids with RINSTAR data and being engaged in learning. We have a dedicated, one of our electives is a dedicated intervention teacher where we took all of our data, we took the low kids, and some of them were 4 grade levels below, and we put them in a Math 180 and or in an ELA, if their scores were low there, in an ELA, a Read 180. We then looked at the second tier of students to address, and we created small class intervention where we were doing grade level standards, but we were doing in a smaller setting at an intentional slow pace, but we were still covering the standards. We provided a focus elective. Future opportunities come from academic success, where everyday students were coming in and their planners. Every student at Windsor Middle School carries a planner with their I can statements, any homework, and where they can get help. And that class, they're working and making sure their planner's complete, their binder is organized, they have everything they need, their backpack is cleaned out. They're going over if they have any missing assignments or if they need to readdress or have any reteaching. And then if they are all done with that, they can sit quietly and read. And that has become so popular that we're actually offering that as an elective and not just intentionally placing students. We have homework help every single day at Windsor Middle School. Super, super proud to, actually someone from Brooks, a parent called and asked if they could bring their student, and I had another parent from Cali that came last month. I'm like, sure, well, everybody can come. And we're hiring yeah, that's cool. And we're hiring, we hired one of our math teachers. So we have homework help with 2 tutors every single day, and then we have a math teacher that's there Tuesdays and Thursdays to help out in math specifically. We're still working with, and thanks to Annette getting that, working with our curriculum maps. We've partnered, I have 2 sets of group from SCO, developing strong tier 1 instructional strategies for our teachers to engage all of our students. We've hired a bilingual instructional assistant to help our teachers and our students. Like I think Jessica said, she has 10 newcomers that don't speak any English. And we have I have an intern from Sonoma State and a full-time bilingual instructional assistant to help our teachers and our students navigate and engage in their learning. We have an alternative classroom this year where not everybody's meant for a comprehensive school. And this is a classroom that we are taking students with behavior issues, attendance issues, medical issues. They may just be having a hard time at home. And we have 17 students in that classroom right now, and it's a hybrid. They can go for 1 period and reset, get a snack and go on to their day, or they can go for 2 or 3 periods, or they can stay for the entire day. And having an alternative setting, I think, is allowing students to engage, and it's a safe place for them. But that's just some of the stuff we throw up. You know, I always tell the staff, we're throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall. We'll see what sticks. But those are some of the exciting things that we're doing to address our students connected and thriving, staff, and family. So thank you.
I was going to say it's going to pop up.
There you go.
All righty. Well, we get that going. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to share tonight. As we look at, can you hear me okay? As we look at Maddie Washburn and our youngest learners, among youngest learners. So we have our mid-year looking at our Ren Star, first and foremost. And then I'll shift into TK, which, as you heard from Callie already, is the DRDP, which is a very different measure. But I'm starting where we have the most representative kind of snapshot and picture of our data. So Ren Star covers kinder, first, and second grade. So as you can see, there are clear patterns of growth in literacy and in math. Specifically in kindergarten, we have seen gains from 51%. Also, this is the same threshold of students who are at or above grade level.
And with that in mind, kindergarten with early literacy from 51 to 58%, which exceeds the goal that was set. We're also seeing in first grade, which is the same measure, early literacy, that's the name of the assessment, from 36 to 47%. In second grade, from 27 to 26%, so small shift down in that realm. For math, similarly, there are some uptrends. So kindergarten, we have 29 to 39%, first grade from 20 to 33%, and in second grade from 28 to 26%. I really want to focus some energy and some time on our literacy because literacy is really the fundamental and foundational piece in terms of even being able to access math, right? Math is numbers, but there is so much language and literacy involved in math and learning math now. The shift in how our math instruction happens is very literacy heavy and language heavy at times. So with that in mind, I think it's important to unpack as a school, myself as instructional leader, in our professional learning teams, our grade level teams, really becoming learners from this data and understanding better what are we doing that's hitting the mark and what do we need to do better so that we're better addressing the needs of our students. Clearly, there are growth patterns, and we celebrate those. But then we also need to be willing to roll up our sleeves, take a deeper dive, and together learn what could we do better and take a shared ownership of this data. So with that, we want to celebrate and highlight some things, for example, through our professional learning community push and the PLT work that's happening. Specifically, we have some teacher leaders that are taking on learning opportunities, that are really taking to heart how do we teach foundational skills, which we can also call phonics, how do we teach these decoding skills, how do we improve student learning from the very beginning so that we're not just backfilling. So we're not just looking to take a reactive stance, but proactively, what are we doing to just make sure that first-time instruction is best first-time instruction so that we can then lessen that gap and not create a gap from the get-go. Okay. In terms of math, again, there's a focus with P3CC on some instructional leaders that are willing to take on how can we teach math differently? What should it look like? There needs to be some experimentation and thinking beyond just paper to pencil and manipulatives. And what are we doing to really engage students in math concepts and skills that are more real world and real life and tangible, because that's how our students learn, and that's how they learn best. So in terms of our TK, I do want to highlight that the DRDP is a very different measure. Okay. As already mentioned in Callie's presentation, we are looking at students moving farther over to the right on that learning continuum. And right now, the kind of benchmark that we've set in collaboration, Jessica Borland, myself, and Lydia Teruel over at Callie, is really looking at students that are in that building earlier, middle, later realm, part of the continuum. The reason being that's a predictor for how students will then be kindergarten ready, which is integrating earlier, okay? So at the moment for December, we have students in these different areas that are already falling in what the building middle or possibly beyond benchmark numbers are. So we have 57% in the self-regulation, social emotional development is at 64%. Again, they're hitting building middle, but we do have students that are farther over already. Language and literacy development is at 60%. Math is at 68%, along with our physical development.
health is at 75%, and our English language development, because we do have students that are joining us in TK that are multilingual learners, 63% are already at that mid-year benchmark. What that means for us in terms of end of year is that now both Principal Teruel and myself have a true goal, okay? We're looking at least 75% or more of our students that are hitting at or above, which really means building later or beyond, okay? So we now have a very, or a more firm picture of where our TK students need to be in terms of kindergarten readiness, which then gives us the opportunity to build from the ground up what vertical articulation needs to look like in terms of literacy, math, and all of these other areas, all of these buckets that are still important as they reach kinder, first, and second grade, and obviously beyond when they go to Brooks. In terms of academics, these are very helpful predictors for what students will then be assessing for or what we're using as our benchmarks through universal screeners still in kindergarten and beyond. While we may not have in RenStar approaches to learning self-regulation, that is foundational to students being able to access academic content later. Right? So, and there's still opportunities for that learning to extend, but it really does begin when they enter school at 4 years old. And in terms of everything else you see there.
Trisha, could you go back one slide, please?
Yes. Hold on. There we go.
If you look at early literacy kinder, 51% of those students essentially were ready, right? They're at grade level. We're going to work to see what the reasons for that are, but you could at least give the premise that we are universal for 4-year-olds, right? So more students are getting
Was that a year of TK feeder?
Correct. Yes, sir.
The majority, yes, the majority of our rising TK or entering kindergarten students are homegrown, coming from our current Maddie TK program. There are some students that join us from outside either programs or schools, but majority are ours and are homegrown.
Just wanted to point out the reason why we focus so much in TK on the DRDP and making sure kids are ready.
Yes.
Did we have that TK kid cohort at Cali as well last year that came in for your kindergarten? Maybe we could,
Yes.
maybe we could look at that when we get the questions. I think that's very interesting on seeing the return on investment.
Yes. I want to just highlight again that some of the bright spots that we're seeing and the gains, I really do attribute to what has begun, not what is finished, but what we have begun in terms of PLT work. There is just a beginning of an understanding, a foundational understanding that we cannot work in isolation. Working in isolation, closing the door and going into our classroom and doing what we say we're doing our best is not enough. That is not helping us engage in our own learning as professionals, let alone helping our students to really make positive growth and experience school in a positive way. So the push continues to be PLC and PLT work. Really, it has to become a school culture where there is collective responsibility. It is a moral imperative. I cannot stress that enough. That is my passion, that we are doing everything possible and then some collectively to positively impact our students and ensure that all students are learning at high levels. We're not there yet. But we will continue to work, and I will continue to work to do everything possible to bring that to the forefront over and over and over again. There is much work left to be done, and I take ownership of that, but I do so gladly because I know that we have so much potential within our school community, whether it be through our staff, through our family community, our district. We have so much that we can offer our students, but it really all hinges on making sure that this becomes a school culture that we live, that we breathe, that we just are, and all for the better of our students.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Oh, you can turn up that tie, Mr. Williams. Turn it up.
This is just want to say thank you, board, and now we're available for questions if you would like to ask them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes, please.
I think Bill wants to go.
Yeah, I'd like just to get a snapshot from the DRP for Cali to show the DRP and then that kinder readiness, that same slide, and then I have, okay, and so where's the one that has the kinder, the lower primary grades at Cali?
It's not.
I think this is the slide before, probably.
You don't have that separated? Okay, do you have a, all right. I was just trying, if you know, Callie, I was just trying to get a comparison. These numbers are in the same ballpark, DRDP coming out of TK, but were you in the 50th range for your kindergartners?
It's a K2 span. Okay, if you go to the next slide.
It shows K2 on your presentation. I think he was just trying to figure out K exactly.
There we go. Okay.
So we have like a combination of
Yeah,
kindergarten.
it's all right.
Okay.
They're kind of aligned. I mean, I look at, okay, thank you. I think if we could break that out a little bit as we go, and then ultimately with pre-K, with the littles in a year, maybe two, say, what does that mean when we're doing those, whatever those cool narrative words are that have the RPDP. I did have a question or two for Patricia, if we might. Could we go to the, so thank you. I saw one other slide, I think that the growth was 1%. Nope, the one before that. And I'm concerned about the second grade scores. It seemed that going into Brooks, there was also a lower third grade starting baseline. And I'm wondering, I believe, and I was trying to keep track, some of the growth is larger, some smaller. You know, you have 6, 8, 9+%, 10%, 13% for math in first grade. Help me understand what do you think is the distinction in second grade? You used words that I really like coming from my Marine Corps experience of collective responsibility and the culture. And it seems, I don't know if second grade is a different differentiator. You know, for a couple of years ago, this was not in the STAR test or the CASP, that started at third grade. And so we didn't really know what was happening at the primary grades. We just sort of saw the first reveal when kids got to third grade in both schools. And so it was always very interesting. Can you unpack that a little bit? And yeah, I don't know enough. It's been so long since my kids were 7. I were 6. But this is pretty striking to me. It's the only grade at the only school that has gone flat or the opposite direction. And so if you can help us understand that a little bit, if you have any insight.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's something that there's so many different factors to take into account. I don't necessarily have a full-blown hypothesis, right? But I can tell you that is exactly one of the focus areas for myself and my leadership team, but greater as a school, because again, there's collective responsibility. Those second graders were with us the year before, the majority of them, and the year prior. Therefore, it is shared ownership of all of our students. Then we need to understand and unpack what is happening in terms of making sure that we have all done our part and played our role in making sure that they are growing, learning, and making appropriate progress, if not accelerated progress, right? Not just hinging on at grade level, but what about beyond? Why are we not aiming for above, right? Even that mindset shift. So all that to say, I don't necessarily have one specific thing that we can necessarily say, this is it. This is what it is. Let's fix it. It may be an actual kind of mixed bag of different factors, but I'm willing to unpack it and get to understand better what we need to do and think out of the box in order to make really quick impact for our students. This is mid-year, but end of year is here like literally tomorrow. It will blink and it will be May. So we're still in time right now to see some accelerated growth, but in terms of making sure that these writing second graders have a fighting chance for third grade, we have to look at what can we do for them now, and then look at, just because we've seen some growth in first grade doesn't mean it stops there. How are we making sure those students are accessing and getting into what that realm of at and above looks like for second grade, so that at some point we're handing off third graders that are overwhelmingly ready for third grade and what comes later. So
just to be really clear,
part of our problem-solving process.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
I just wanted to clarify, so just so I understand what is being shown here, in a second grade reading and second grade math, it looked like they actually regressed instead of progressed. Is that true?
Correct. So it's from 27 to 26. So down 1%, and then in math, down 2%.
Yeah, it just seems like it's been, several months, for them to have that experience. So what you're saying is you just, you don't know the reason why.
At the moment, I don't have one reason why, but I know that there are some very important shifts that need to be made school-wide in order to understand better why our students are not making the accelerated gains that we need to see in them.
Board, Patricia and I have had lots of conversations about this, and she knows the reasons why she's protecting her staff right now and taking the blame. But there are very particular reasons, and she's just not willing to throw anyone under the bus publicly.
That's what I was thinking is maybe these are not kids that were in the early literacy, because you said you've had them for at least 1 year.
Yes. So one thing to note, is that the assessment itself does change.
Right.
And that is one of those important factors. So for example, the early literacy assessment just is built differently. It is meant to be developmentally appropriate to our younger students and learners. There are more visuals, there are auditory prompts, they can wear little headphones. There's just more built into the assessment for that level of learner. Whereas when you're looking at the STAR reading, it is text heavy, it is traditional, kind of a more traditional assessment that is multiple choice. The format is different. However, that only explains a portion. That is not I don't believe, especially as a teacher who taught that grade in a different district, mind you, but had many multilingual learners, many students with various needs, and we were a Title I district in school. So knowing that students may be starting out lower, just what that really means is we should be seeing more accelerated growth. That's what the formula should be.
Yeah, just a thought. I was thinking, well, we split up Windsor Creek just the other day, and this is, I think, the 5.5 years or 6 years ago. But one of the thoughts, and I'd be very interested for you all over at the DO side of things to look, we added a third grade, but went from 2 grades to 3 grades at Brooks. We went from 2 grades next year to 5 grades at Maddie Washburn, and I'm wondering if we may need proportional additional assistance there. You got 18 new classes. We're going to build in the part of the park that we actually realized we owned. But I think that's also a difference. Maybe, I don't know. But thank you for your candor. I don't know what the answer is either, but I just wanted to highlight, and I really appreciate you addressing it. That stands out distinctively, and let us know how we can help with that, because I think we love to build on success and the enthusiastic, middle school, high school combos from both Cali and the middle school and the high school. But this is an area that may need some extra focus or extra resources, but I don't know what that solution is. Thank you, Rich. I went twice.
I really appreciate the food that was brought earlier because it gave me an opportunity to enjoy some of it versus talking, because I wanted to kind of control my message. I was at a function earlier and I ended up sitting by one of these, a lady from Petaluma. She's a politician and I've seen her name a million times, but I had never met her. And she goes, how'd you get into this? And I said, I don't know. I said, I never thought I'd do this because I have no filter. So I appreciate the food filter that was helping me for a while, because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing this great big punch bowl of awesomeness. And then I'm seeing the second grade stuff, which is a little fly in that big old nice pot of wonderfulness. And it pisses me off, to be truthful. So please bear with me that I am not saying this at any one person or anyone,
Understood.
whatever. I just want you guys to know I'm pissed and I'm kind of tired of it not improving. I see so much improvement in other areas. I see our new kids coming in and they're like soaring. And yet we seem to have this, I don't know if cog is the right word or something. There's something I'm where we keep having the same problem, and we've had it for decades, that we don't improve. And then we get told, before I was on the board, hey, we're doing this to improve, or we're doing that to improve, and we don't improve. And now I take it personal, because not only are these my kids now that have gone through this, now these are my grandkids. Mm-hmm. And I have a grandson in the second grade. And I'm going to be just like every other parent in Windsor and say, this is unacceptable. And it's not only unacceptable, it's unacceptable, and we're not going to let it sit there anymore like this. So basically, I'm 1 out of 5 that want, Jeremy's who we work with, and Jeremy works with you. I don't want this anymore. Mm-hmm. It's going to get fixed. If I have to go start sitting in second grade classes to I'm not the guy to figure it out. I am the guy to fix it, though, because I'll just complain until whatever needs to get done gets done. But we can't do this anymore. I can't wait anymore. One of the unfortunately suck things about getting older is you start to say, hey, I'm in the fourth quarter. I'm seeing the finish line, right? I can't keep waiting. And I can't expect parents in our town to keep waiting. And our kids can't keep waiting anymore. Something has to be different. I've coached too many kids for too long to think to put it on the kids. There are individual things here and there. Yes, if some kids, parents could help them more at home, that would always be a blessing. There's always something that can make it better. But we went backwards from terrible. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be Debbie Downer on this, but I really need to have a change. I'm frustrated because I'm not an educator. I don't know what the magic fix per se is. I have an idea, though, what would fix it, because I'm in business. I've got a lot of employees. I identify deficiencies, and it's amazing how I'm actually pretty good at fixing a lot of those problems. I don't know if my ideas would fix this, but I would like you to really focus on fixing it, and it sounds like you guys already are. I just want everyone to know that I think our board, I know that I'm watching because I have a personal interest. It's my grandson. But guess what? The kids that are in second grade, that's everybody's kids and everybody's grandkids. They're somebody's, right? We love them all. So let's do what we're doing in these other areas where we're improving, and let's duplicate that. Find out what it is. identify it. And you know what? And if there's a program and if we stand on one leg and we look like a flamingo for like 10 minutes in the morning and then all of a sudden the kids do wonderful things that day, everybody better get damn good at their balance because we got to duplicate that and do it over and over again. It's just not fair. We're ripping the kids off. And it's exponentially compounding by not fixing this early. I know you guys all know this because you guys are, this is why you got in it, right? It's not because you thought you were going to make $1 billion, right? But we can do better. I've been in this district for a long time and I've seen that when we focus on something, it gets better. If we want a better something, we focus on it and we get it. It gets better. Our school district, we're pretty good. We have a lot of people in our town that can focus in and will things to happen. I just don't think anybody's made enough big enough stink or complained enough or called people out or complained or whatever it is or volunteered. Whatever it is, I don't know what the secret sauce per se is. I just know that, like this test scores, this has been when performance is measured, performance improves. This was my first debate with one of our first Windsor administrators way back when they were like, no, we don't worry about the test and we don't. Well, if you don't worry about the test, then you don't even know if you're winning or losing. I mean, just to be honest, when I go on a diet, I get my butt on a scale every day and I find out if I'm winning or losing every day. When I don't get on the scale every day, y'all see this, right? It's not a real complicated thing, but somebody's aren't focusing on helping those second graders. And it's immoral in my mind because if they can't do good here and they get further and further behind, then it just exponentially snowballs to where these kids, imagine this. You have a coach. He's in high school. He's got 30 kids on his team, and all of a sudden it's grade check time, and he's like doing a little dance because everybody made grades. Not just made them, they're like 3s and above. That's an amazing thing. Contrast that to when I first started coaching here 30 years ago. I was over at the Windsor Middle Creek. That was the little gym there. And they suckered me into coaching. And I had about 40 kids on the team. And I was all excited. And we were going to kill Petaluma. It was our first match, right? And right before our match, like 15 minutes before, somebody walks in and goes, oh, I just did grade check on your kids. Here's the list of the kids that made grades. I think I had like 7 kids out of over 30 that made grades. And Petaluma killed my 7 that I had. Happened to be they weren't the best wrestlers, but they were really good in school. Anyhow, could you imagine being a coach where you didn't have to worry about grades? Because the kids got such a good foundation coming up that it just carried through, and that culture of our whole district. And not only just in grades, but then, you're good at math, you're good at English. Now all of a sudden our band program starts to flourish because kids can go in the, hey, 3-4 time kids, right? They know what that means because they understand. But if they're struggling with just basic math, they're not going to be playing an instrument. It doesn't work together. Anyhow, I think you understand. I'm just not going to, I can't be quiet about it anymore. And I got to start being a little bit of a, I don't want to spend the money. So we're just doing better. Let's focus on that one too. And you're going to get our support to make things happen. Whatever it is that's going to make it work, I don't know. That's why you guys get paid. This is your profession. You guys are professional educators. Help us help those kids reach their potential. Whatever's in the way, whether it's a cultural thing, I don't know. let's get rid of it. If it's a hurdle, hey, somebody called me a bulldozer a long time ago. I'm really good at knocking things that are in our way out. Let's do that. So I apologize because we have 95% of everything that we saw today is super awesome on the upswing of fantastic. But I keep seeing that one booger that never gets fixed. And we keep getting told, oh, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. Not by you. It's just been by everybody. I'm just going to call it by et al. You lawyers, you like that one, right? So anyhow, let's fix it. And let's make, let's do what we're supposed to be doing for those second graders. And anyhow, thank you. I'm sorry. But I just, no more. No more. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I will give my comments. I'm going to keep you up a little bit longer. And I apologize to everyone else who we haven't called you up for questions. I think this is probably going to be our focus today, because I think the thing is we saw really good news. And then, like Rich so eloquently described, we saw some news that wasn't as good. But I think that now, like, this is something that we've been wanting to do for years, is really focus on, especially the littles, like strengthening their academic achievement, reading, writing, math. Like, it's very important. I know Paul is on the same page too. He's not here today, but I know I think we're pretty much all aligned. And I think the thing that makes me nervous is I know that in third grade, and I'm not a professional educator either, but I know that third grade reading competency is really important at that stage. Like, it's a huge indicator of what's going to happen later in life even. So it makes me really nervous that this is kind of the grade where we don't have strong progress. Like, we don't even have any progress, and that I'm just a little confused about what's happening. So just wanted to reiterate that we need to prioritize this age group. This age group is really important. I mean, they're all important, right? But like, this one is one where we need to make some gains, like immediately, like before the end of this year. Like, it can't be like, okay, because I'm imagining there's probably a solution that will take some time, and it's like, okay, well, next year we'll fix it. But like, we can't do that to them. So, and it kind of like the way I look, like everyone's kind of on the same page, and it almost feels like everyone's doing the group project, but there's someone not doing the group project. Like, that's kind of how it feels, because this looks a lot like numbers that we used to see before, and we would be disappointed, but we used to see it in like every grade, and now we're only seeing it in this grade. So it's like, what's going on? But that's for you guys to figure out. So thank you for listening to all of us.
Yes, absolutely.
And do we have any more comments from the?
I have one.
Okay.
And this is not, particular to you, Patricia, but just across the board. I guess my question is, because students with disabilities, for example, I think would have a difficult time, some of them at least, would have a difficult time responding to the Youth Truth Survey. I'm just wondering if in the data, are they completely left out in terms of, for example, the question is, how do they feel like their teacher interacts with them, or how do they feel about the school climate in general? Those kinds of questions that are a little bit more unwieldy, that they would have a difficult time responding to. What happens to those students? Are those just left out of this data? I think across the board.
I'll try to take that on. Heather, do you know, I can't remember if there's a subgroup for special education. I don't believe that there is. And Youth Truth, I don't think you can, Heather kind of runs Youth Truth.
Okay.
I don't believe when you look at the subgroups, I'm trying to recall that I've seen a special education subgroup to pull them out.
No, it doesn't pull out special education families in the Youth Truth at all.
Or students, she was asking about students specifically, correct?
Right. So is the assumption that they're part of this mix, or they're just left out?
No, they're part of the mix. So the Youth Truth, the way that it's distributed to families and to students, like they all take it. They just aren't asked specific questions related to if they're in a group. Like, all the questions are the same for all students and all families.
And then my understanding, Jeremy, is that Youth Truth is designed by SCO, correct?
Not by SCO, but SCO is the one that brought it to us and allows us to offer it for free. It's designed by Youth Truth, but SCO, it's used all over the nation.
Okay, I think I'm going to make this recommendation, not necessarily for us, but for SCO, to see if they could research, what happens if a student is just not able to respond. I don't think that they should be left out. So for example.
That's a good question.
Yeah, for example, could there be an added step, such as a follow-up to their parents about how they feel about the school climate? And the reason why I bring this up and why it's so important to me is because I was recently reading in my notes in preparation for this meeting that there's been an increase in the number of students with disabilities in our schools and across our nation, and also an increase in students with autism. So that's why this is concerning for me, because I want to make sure that those students are included in our culture of caring about students, that they feel included as part of what we do.
So Malinali, I just want to share that students with special needs who are on IEPs will often have accommodations for when they're taking a test or reading something. And so, for example, a student may have on their IEP that what they're being asked to do can be read to them. And the special education teachers that we have in our district understand their students' needs. And so students who have special needs are provided accommodations while they're doing this on Youth Truth.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that is one way of increasing the number, but of course there's the possibility that it's difficult or inaccessible to some.
Right.
But I like your suggestion, right, to ask parents who often speak the very clear language that their children do, and they can help us interpret that. So thanks for that suggestion.
I think it's also, it always makes for a better case scenario when we have more data, more information, and especially if we involve parents in advocating for their own children, I think is always a good thing. So thank you.
So that's a perfect moment to just say, families, you're falling behind on taking the Youth Truth, no matter how many times I've sent it out on Parent Square. So please, families, take the Youth Truth.
Yeah, thank you for the
I did
PSA.
take it as soon as I got the message from Danielle. So I was like, I'm going to do it. Okay, do we have, I think we're on item 5.1 still, or old item 5.1. Do we have any public comments on this item? I'm going to kind of move things along. I think we don't have any more comments from the board. I will just say, it looks like we have to set some higher targets because we beat all our targets. So go back and set higher targets, and that's
Good
exciting.
problem, right?
That's like
It's a good problem.
Yeah, that's a great problem. Okay, so Brian, do you have anything that you want to present on this item? Because it's for the LCAP. So how, can we just take a vote? We've already.
It is a vote to approve the mid-cycle. I've included the report. It's, as you heard from the principals, this is the real work that we're doing. And the way that we often structure our supplemental expenditures, their salaries, their big items like transportation. And so what we're supposed to be demonstrating with this report is, how much money have we spent mid-year for the programs that we're doing? Well, the answer is easy, half of it, because that budget was set at the beginning of the year. So all that information about our subgroups and our expenditures is included in the reports. So you do have to vote on both of those, but we wanted you to hear from the principals about the real goings on.
Okay, great, thank you. Then, seeing no public comment on this item, do I have a motion to approve the LCAP?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve item 5.1. Are we doing both the dashboard and the LCAP, or is that one thing?
And 5.2.
It's one title. It's not the actual LCAP. It's just the mid-cycle update.
Yeah. And I'll make the comment while I'm making this motion. I've been on the board for a while. This is one of the first times that I've been able to say, here is the spending, and thank you. You did send us the very comprehensive midterm LCAP document to say, here's the spending, here's the results of our investment. And that, I think, is the key for us, is not to get down so much into the weeds, although you heard a little bit about it, Patricia, but to say, are we returning on investment in the areas that we've shared with you and you've shared with us, we've worked on together, that are important? And now we're coupling those together. And that's taken 10 years for us to do it. And thank all of you who are doing that, because that allows us to connect A and B, and they are related. And that's very helpful. So I would make a motion that we approve 5.1. I think, to your point, Rich, maybe we get through that one and then make a second one for the Cali document.
I'll second.
5.2. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any discussion before voting? Don't think so. Okay, preferential student board member vote. You guys could vote first. We're actually supposed to have you vote first, and I had forgotten. Bill reminded me. So go ahead. You just say
Okay.
aye. It doesn't have to be aye, but yes, that's what we want. Okay, and then the rest of the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and then we have one absent. And then we'll move on to 5.2. I don't think.
Can I actually ask Jeremy a question? I know it's kind of out of the box, but let's just look at the second grade for just a second. If there's 5 or 6 hours of, I guess my question is, if we're teaching math and then we're teaching language for an hour each, right? And we're way behind, why couldn't we go teach math and then English, and then have recess, and then go math and English and lunch and math and English and a break? And why can't we like quadruple or double or triple up what we're, because in my mind, nothing else we're teaching matters if you don't get those two things down. So if we're spending the time teaching, why do astronauts ride in a rocket ship or whatever? I don't know. I'm just coming up with something. Why are we not then spending more of our academic time on those two subjects that we're so far behind on?
We could.
Could we do that? I
We
mean, I
could.
guess-
You have to build in the standards for the other subject matters, but you can do that within the realm of ELA. Science can be taught with ELA and math. So same.
So
same as those
everything's
things.
on the table then?
I think it has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so for 5.2, I don't think we have any public comment. Do I have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve this item.
I'll second.
Okay, student board members, you can vote first.
Yes.
The rest of the board?
Thank you.
Declare victory and
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here. We appreciated your presentations.
We're not done yet.
Okay, and then board, you need to vote too.
yes.
Yes. And then we have one absent. Okay, that passes. And we are next on 5.3, consideration of approval of district's proposal for contract negotiations with CSEA. Pete, what do we need to do here? I think this is the reopener.
It is.
Okay.
If it's okay with the board, I'll combine 5.3 and 5.4 as they represent the district's proposals for openers for negotiations for 24-25. And we're seeking the board's approval to open these with our union partners, with both CSEA and WDEA, who we look forward to meeting with in, well, hopefully next month.
And I should publicly apologize to Susanna because I promised that these would have been on last month and I didn't get them on and I didn't realize I made that promise. So my apologies, Susanna, but I'll do it publicly. That was privately.
This way, he really means it this way.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to make a motion, Pete, or is
Yeah.
it just something? you need
We
to-
are. Do I have a motion to take 5.3 and 5.4 together?
So moved. Yep. And I make a motion that we approve 5.3 and 5.4.
Great.
Second.
Okay. Excellent. And then do we have any public comment? I don't think so, but
Thank you.
all right.
you
Then
vote?
student board members?
Yes.
Non-student board members? Yes.
Double vote, sisters. That's good.
Chocolate help.
All right. Okay, we got item 5.5. Now we're on our public hearing for resolution 2025-11, the Williams Quarterly Report for October 2024 to December 2024.
There are no items, but we do have to go into recess, do the public hearing, and then come back.
Well, let's begin the public hearing right now. It is 8:35, and we'll take a moment. And then I think we have one more item after this. Are we ready for that item? The 4.6?
Yes.
You sent it. Has it been updated in the
I sent the
agenda?
live version to everyone, so, and I can plug it in here so we can look at it.
Yeah, that's me.
Claudia got it up. Close the hearing. We've got a new time, 8:36. I think we're good.
Okay. So closing the hearing at 8:36. Do I have any public comments? A motion to accept this report?
Because a resolution, this is I'll move, and I believe it's a roll call vote.
And then
for the
I'll
resolution.
second, and then we do need a roll call, and we'd like the students to vote first. So if you could call on them first, please, Claudia, that would be great.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Burkavich.
Yes.
Burmick. Oops. Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
And you say Paul.
And
Paul
Paul
Bordeaux.
is absent. Okay, great. That passes. Okay, now we'll go on to our last item, which is 4.6 that we had tabled from earlier. We have the updated course description to reflect the course as it's actually going to be taught. That's been circulated. I don't know that it's been posted to the agenda.
Well, Claudia was too fast. She posted it while we were still editing. But we were
Has
going to post.
this final updated version been posted?
This version needs to be posted.
Yeah. Well, I think there were two. So there was a new revised version, and we revised it again during the meeting. Something else that's been going on while we've been meeting. So the live version needs to be posted. We can do that I think we just need to do it at some point like today.
And this can always be updated, right?
Yeah.
We need to get the course in the syllabus, but this can be updated if we find
Right.
something
But
that was
I don't
missed.
know that we necessarily want to approve the version from before.
Totally agree with you. I just
So-
wanted to make sure.
But we've
it was
all
known.
received the current version by email. It looks good.
Yes.
So we just need that document uploaded at some point, and I think we're good. Discussion.
Maybe someone can clarify for me. I was always under the impression that ethnic studies, there was a focus maybe on a particular group, but there was never an exclusion or people. I thought it was an all-inclusive type of a curriculum that covered a little bit about everybody or a little bit about more. I mean, when Diane was talking, I was surprised. I don't want to say shocked, wrong word. It just caught me off guard. I just assumed that in an ethnic studies class that everything was talked about. I didn't realize that there was a select or specific ethnicities or whatever that was a focus. Am I wrong on that, or am I misunderstanding?
The model curriculum for California identifies 4 areas that this course for high school should cover, and that's Native American, Chicano Latino, African American, and Asian American. The point that originally, yes, I was adding more and more, and then more and more, and then more and more, and this semester-long course now was an entire bachelor's degree. And so the point that Diane was making, which is a correct point, is you should stick to the 4 and not choose anything else, because at that point you're choosing this and not choosing that. Whereas if you stay to the 4 recognized ethnicities that are in the model curriculum, you're better off, you're safe. And so that completely understandable, agreed. I sent this to the county office. We also sent it to some of the faculty at Sonoma State to review as well. And so this is the version that once we get it uploaded to the board docs tonight, we'll be going to UC Doorways for final approval to make it an A through G elective.
Yeah, actually, I have a comment, unless you want to go first.
No, go ahead. I'll wait.
So just to answer your question, it has been a scholarly debate for some time now, ever since people have been advocating for ethnic studies as a requirement, that, originally it wasn't envisioned that Jewish studies should be part of this, right? And there's a reason why. And the reason why is because Jewish people are largely seen as white presenting, which means that they look like white people, right? And ethnic studies, the original idea and vision behind it was that it was to address the discrimination and the racism that people of color often, experience, right? But since that point, there was a lot of debate over, whether Jewish studies should be included, and ultimately it has been included in the model curriculum now. But I think that was the point of contention is, does this fall in line with the original vision of ethnic studies in terms of addressing issues for people that consistently face or often face, racism and discrimination? So I think that within that, I just want to say that kudos to Brian Williams, who I feel like has done a really wonderful job in crafting this document, and not only that, but a process, for us to follow, because in what I read, it was very clear, what the process is. And then I also want to say that historically, even before ethnic studies was approved with the model curriculum, historically, I feel that our students have suffered for a long time in our school district, considering that for a long time, our school district has been around 50% Latino, right? And for a long time, their needs for seeing themselves represented in the curriculum was not well addressed. Right, so I'm glad that now, we have a law, we have a process, we have a policy in order to address this. But I think that for a long time, students did not feel represented in the literature that was being offered. And currently in one of my classes, I'm using this book that's really wonderful. That's called You Sound Like a White Girl. That's by the author, Julissa Arce. And I love this book because it starts out with the metaphor. And Julissa Arce describes the metaphor for experiencing racism as if you're a woman of color and you're in a marathon race, being a woman of color means that you're constantly thrown obstacles that other people are not. So for example, if somebody throws water right in front of you as you're running the race, if somebody, puts an obstacle in front of you and not others, that distinguishes you and your experience. And this happens so often to women of color that they get so many obstacles thrown in their face that what that does psychologically is after a while you start to question yourself and you start to wonder, do I even belong, in part of whatever, circle it is, whether it's an academic circle or, in a job, right? Because somehow you're treated differently than everybody else. So it starts to contribute to an imposter syndrome, right? And I just want to say that, I personally have experienced this. I have, served on many different boards before coming to this one, many different positions. And there is this feeling when you're a woman of color of not belonging, right? So I'm very happy to say that on this board, I've not felt that, I've always felt like part of our, a group of colleagues here, right? But it's very difficult to articulate these feelings. So you can imagine for a high school student, to be experiencing all these things and not see themselves represented has been an issue, I think, for a long time. So I'm so glad it's now being addressed. So I want to say kudos to Brian and also to all of the many teachers that have been working very hard, to understand this model curriculum. So thank you.
I did, and thank you for those comments, Malinelli. When I was looking at this, I was surprised it was passed by the legislature as a requirement, going back and looking, and given some political add-ons and deletions of what it should include. When it first came to be signed as a law by the governor, he vetoed it. He said, nope, take this back. This has become way too political. And I think to your point of what was in and what it wasn't in and why and how it was narrowly focused again, based on some of the direction, it was Governor Newsom, the same governor, that said, no, I'll sign it. But yeah, so it has an interesting thing, and I appreciate our two commenters to come and watch it. It's good, it's good that we have people that are watching and are on top of what we're considering as curriculum. I think that's a very helpful thing, and I'm sorry they're still not here at 8:45.
She is listening. She's texting.
Are you at home? All right, good job.
Thank
Hope
you.
you feel better, Diane.
Thank you, Diane and Lori. Okay.
All right.
Any public comment on this item? Any additional discussion? I feel a question.
We need a motion. So is
Make sure you put on your
I'm
mic.
sorry. So did they add the Jewish studies to it, or is it still not, or?
We removed the Islamic studies piece from it. So it's only the 4 core ethnicities that are in the model curriculum.
I think in the model curriculum for high schools, they have not included Jewish or Islamic topics. Or Arab American.
Right. Got it. And that comes from the state.
Yep.
Is that correct? That's not our choice. That's the state of California's.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I think
Stuff.
it's set forth in law, right?
Okay.
Correct. So this is, now we're down to the exact model curriculum that the state provided. With, we made choices about like what projects and what materials to use, but in terms of like the main standards, this is from the model curriculum.
So I'm a little confused. Why are we voting on it then if it's not our thing?
Well, it's an additional course curriculum. This is on the consent calendar, so we got it presented. And then our course curriculums, like books, they come back a second time. And this one's simply on the consent calendar.
Okay.
And then we had some public comment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, we already had public comment on this earlier, so I don't have to ask for it again. So I just need a motion and a second.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second. Students?
Yes.
Board?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And Paul is absent. And that was our last item. Well, we do have future board meetings, item 6.1, if anyone has anything. I don't know that we do.
I mentioned before our next board meeting will be back in here on February 12th. Please make a point, students, that you can come. Also, I know a number of us, and I don't know who, we have our SCO biennial every 2-year trustee dinner on February 3rd.
Yes.
And I would just, again, ask the board, as I mentioned early on, and thank you very much for raising it in your report, that we're ready for adjourn. I'd make a motion to adjourn in memory of Shauna Buckman.
I'm sorry, I have one item.
Oh.
So I know that the discussion on immigration law and policy is constantly evolving. So I would just like us to have a radar on that, and also bring up that topic when it is appropriate. So as you find it to be appropriate, Jeremy, to have that as part of giving us a vision or a process of how we move forward with communicating what is happening with immigration law and policy.
And I think I should say something. I mean, to your point, Bill, my silence isn't for lack of work in this area. It's because this is changing quite a bit each day in terms of what our guidance is. And a number of districts have put out some statements, and some of those statements are now, we're questioning whether they're accurate because the guidance has changed by the hour, frankly.
Right.
So tomorrow we will be briefed.
Stale. They call it stale. Isn't that the legal term for it? Superseded, stale.
Tomorrow, the majority of our superintendents in the county get briefed. And so we'll hopefully get the most up-to-date information, and we plan to release something to families, some sort of statement, guidance at the beginning of the week next week.
Okay, and thank you for that work.
So I have a suggestion, or more of a question for a suggestion. Sometimes people come and they have public comment that we aren't supposed to reply to, but sometimes a comment keeps being made over and over again. I'm not even addressing anyone in particular. I'd like the board to be able to have a way that we can, if somebody keeps coming and saying, hey, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, I'd like somewhere where we can agendize the sky so we can talk about how it's not falling and that somebody keeps getting bad information and they keep spreading around bad, erroneous information about the sky. I don't know how we do that. And
I can't agendize the sky, but the specific item that keeps being brought up, I can agendize that item if we want to have a discussion. We can discuss whatever we want at this
Or you
time.
could bring it up in a future board item.
Well, this is more in generic terms, but every once in a while, because I'm So maybe status report. I don't know.
The only real way that I could think of, Rich, is at the end of the meeting, you direct me to add this to the next agenda to make sure we can address the public comment.
Well, I'm not really sure what to address because it was a bunch of silliness.
Maybe we should, I mean, I'm just floating this idea, maybe even add a standing item for Windsor Creek so that if there are any comments, we can address it at the moment and answer any questions and provide any clarification.
Let me think about this one. I don't know the rule for sure, and I'll check, but if I put it on closed session and then there's a comment made, usually you make public comment on closed session, but I wonder if there's a way for you to respond if it's on closed session. Let me do a little bit of digging to find out.
Okay.
And that could just clean it up.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will adjourn in the memory of Shauna Buckman.
Wait, before we adjourn, can I actually make a comment? This is just sort of a backtrack to what Melanoli was saying, but I think especially with like recent executive orders, it's really important for students, especially that may have immigration status, or if their parents have immigration status, to know that school is a safe place for them. And I know this has been like kind of a contentious topic, but I think that the statement is a really good idea, and especially pushing that out to students, because like, again, I know there's a really low risk of this happening, but there's the fear of ICE raids happening at school.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to echo that and sort of emphasize it.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we just wanted to mention Shauna Buckman multiple times, so we will now adjourn in her honor. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn in Shauna's.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.